All right, good morning, everybody. Nikki Burnett here. Today's Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com, where we do our best to bring in people who are here to serve and to love and to give and do all of the amazing things that this life has to offer, and to provide goodness to help others do all of the good things that they're supposed to do in this life. So today we have Melissa McCreary, who is a psychologist. I almost said psychotherapist, but a psychologist, and specializes in emotional eating, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm excited to jump into this because this is something that I see in practice all the time, and there's so much of this blame game that happens, and I think it's really important for us to dig a little deeper so we can get away from the blame game. I just think that's so important to understand that there's so much more to it. It's not so simple, and excited to jump in and talk about it. But first, we always start the show with gratitude, because gratitude can change the world. So what are you grateful for today?
Today, that's an easy one. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and today I am grateful for sunshine because it has been a dark, cold spring, and the sun is out, and it is so green and incredible, and it makes me very happy.
Yes, I love that. I'm the same way, and today we're actually dark and dreary, and we're usually super sunny. It's been a little cooler than I would expect for this time of year, so I'm ready for more sun. Just ready for the sun. I think for myself, a couple of things I'm grateful for. Look at this new setup. I mean, this is awesome stuff. I love the vibrant red. KUHS, we've moved our studio, and it is big and bold and beautiful. So good stuff. Super exciting that we've moved. The other is just getting back from one vacation but was a learning vacation. So it's not really vacation, but for me it's so much fun and so much goodness that it's kind of a vacation. But we just got back from Portugal. We were there for 10 days. One of the most amazing places I've ever been. Have you ever been to Portugal?
Funny you should ask. I'm actually going to Portugal next Thursday.
Is it your first time?
It is. I'm so excited. Yeah. I'm gonna have to get tips from you.
Yes. Yeah. We'll definitely talk. We learned a lot. The way that we travel is just We'll book the first couple of days at a hotel. We'll know where we're gonna start, and then from there we just drive and we just go and we just visit. And we would sit and we'd have a glass of wine and something to snack on and say, okay, where are we gonna stay tonight? And so it was a really fun way of sort of digging into the culture, digging into the food, having the wine, talking with the people. What do you think? Where should we go? What's the most amazing thing about this location or that location? And it was fascinating, fabulous, beautiful. The thing that got me was the Roman ruins that are date before Christ. I mean, it's just amazing the things that you'll see. It was awesome.
This is what a coincidence, and I'm so excited. And just hearing you talk, you can, and I know we'll end up talking about this later, but it's like, it just sounds like a place to savor.
Yes.
Right? Be present, and
so much. Yes, I love that you said that, because it's true, and we really did. I mean, we slept in, which was really nice too. But so that was awesome. Yes, let's definitely get together and talk about that. We just went to a conference, Cellcore conference. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love Cellcore, and everything that they're about, and how innovative they are, and how well their products work with helping really sick clients. So the amount of information that they share in this 3-day period of time is overwhelming, and I always have to continue to study and study and study. But that's what it's about, and I just love it so much. There were 1,200 practitioners there. We were all the way from your MDs to your nutritionists like me. So really, really awesome stuff. I love being able to bring back these cutting edge therapies for people, and just learning and expanding my brain, which is what I'm always trying to do. So let's jump in. Let's talk about you. I love to hear the stories of my guests, why it is that you are in this place, because there's always a story, right? There's always a history. There's always something that brings us to the place where we figure out that we need to share what we know with the world. And so let's talk about you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why don't we?
I like it.
So my background professionally, I'm a clinical psychologist. I have spent my entire career helping women with food, with weight, with eating, with their bodies, with weight loss, with every way that you could possibly tangle that up, or every combination you could put that in. That is what I have done. And for many years, I was a psychotherapist in private practice. That's what I did. And along the way, I wanted to provide more. Actually what happened is I got fed up. The easy way to say it is that I sat across from one too many amazing women, high achieving women. I think we're mostly all high achieving women, right? We're doing amazing things in the rest of our lives, whether it's professionally or super moms who can be in 4 places at once and make it look effortless. And I was talking to these women who are amazing and brilliant, and yet in this one area of their life, what I would hear over and over and over again was, I know this is something I will always struggle with. I know this is always going to be an issue for me, right? Maybe I just need to accept that this is how it is. It was such a disconnect.
Yep.
And I know from my own life, my relationship with food, I had the issues many years ago. I don't even feel like it's a part of me anymore. That went away. And my clients heal this stuff, and their struggles, it sounds really kind of, I don't know, it's like this magical word, but they disappear when you deal with things right. They're not something that you have to hold on to and struggle with. And I got mad and I got passionate and realized that I could serve online and reach way more people in a different kind of way. And so that's what I've been doing for quite a while, and full-time actually since 2014. Nice.
Very good. I love that too. I think that so often we hold on to things and we don't realize we're holding on to it. And it can be, I forgot to plug my iPad in. Oh well. It can be super frustrating, and I think for everybody involved, it can be frustrating, like it was for you. But for those who are the ones who are struggling with it, it's that it just sort of sits there. You think you have to hold on to it, or you think it won't go away, and you don't have the tools to make it go away. And it's a weight that we shouldn't have to bear, right? Which is why that's why I do this show, because there's so many people I know who are out there who need what you have, and people need to hear it. People need to know they don't have to continue to hold on to these things. Right?
I'm really glad you're emphasizing that, because I think there's another piece of that which is so important, and that is that there are so many professionals who are not sharing the information that this stuff can go away, right? And that was the other piece of why I just knew I needed to do something different, because I was going to continuing education trainings. I was trying to learn from other professionals and was being taught these models of maintaining, and teaching discipline and these crazy approaches of willpower, right? Like that's going to work. Just notice that you're eating when you're not hungry and don't do it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And to look a smart human being in the eye and tell them that as a strategy, I just don't even know how people can do it. So there is so much more possibility in your relationship with food and in the changes that you can make with that. And most people aren't hearing that information.
No, they're not. What they're hearing and still hearing, which is so antiquated and dated, is, okay, cut calories or eat less and work out more, right?
Oh yeah.
Eat less and exercise more. And there's this huge problem that we're still perpetuating this idea that that's all there is to it. It's always deeper than we think it is, or than maybe we thought it is. And in my world, it's I'm the biochemistry nerd, right? I love understanding, the hormones and the messengers and why things happen biochemically. But the biochemistry, the physical, and the mental and emotional are all so intertwined that you have to look at both, in my mind, and we have to understand. And I try to always telling people, stop blaming yourself. Yes, we have to have an awareness. There has to be tools and habits that are created, but we also have to sit back and think, I have cravings. Why do I have cravings? Is it biochemistry? Is it microbial infection? Is it, whatever the case may be? Are my hunger hormones not communicating the way that they should? And there are all of these things, these factors that can play a role into cravings and into not having the willpower. And then what do? Why can't I do this? Why am I so terrible? Why am I ashamed that I'm sitting at the refrigerator door again? Why do I not understand why I can't eat when it's not us? There's so much more to it. I'm going to stop.
And there's a multi-billion-dollar industry that is making making multi-billions of dollars perpetuating this myth that there is this plan, and if you just follow the plan, you'll get these results. And if you can't follow the plan, it's your fault. So the key there is you blame yourself. And you start over again on Monday, and you tell yourself you have to push harder, and you feel guilty and ashamed because you didn't push hard enough. And what I always point out to my clients is, if you step back and look at that right there is a recipe for overeating. That is a recipe for throwing up your hands and saying, what is the point? I can't do this, and just going into the kitchen and eating all the chocolate.
It's true.
And it's a lie. It's a lie that's making people a lot of money.
Yes, it's a great point. I have a friend, this was years ago, but she's had a lot of health struggles, right? And so she's always searching, and she'll come back to me and she'll ask me, but then she'll always go and she'll search somewhere else. Well, she ended up going to a clinic. Part of it is weight gain, but there are a lot of other things that are going on with her. But she ended up going to a clinic who said that they would help her, and they did food sensitivity testing, and then said, follow your food pyramid and you'll be fine. And I just went, how much did you pay for this? And this is what they tell people. I'm dumbfounded at how, well, like you said, people can actually charge money for this kind of stuff.
Well, and as there is a reason, as you said earlier, there is a reason that we eat. There is always a reason that we eat. And yes, it can be complicated. Yes, there are all sorts of different reasons. But the explanation that it's that you are lazy, or that you are stupid, or that you're not disciplined enough, not only is very, very, very likely to not be true, it's not helpful. No. Because once you decide, it's just all my fault, I need to work harder, or I need to be a different human being, then you've closed off your curiosity and your ability to really be the detective of what is going on here. Why am I ending up at the kitchen at 3:00 every afternoon? Why can't I stay away from the vending machine, right? There's a reason. And part of getting to that reason, a couple of things. Part of that, being able to get to that reason, means learning how to trust yourself again, and learning how to listen to yourself, which I think a lot of women have lost through so many cycles of dieting and trying things that didn't work and beating themselves up.
Agreed. Yeah, I say a lot that we've lost the ability to listen to our bodies, because it's always talking to us, always. So learning over again how to listen, I think, is really important. One of the many things that you talk about is hidden hungers. What are hidden hungers, and how do they contribute to emotional eating?
So that's a term that I use, that I coined to be helpful for what I teach. But hidden hungers are things that we are really hungry for that are not food, that it is so easy to use food either as a substitute for, or to distract ourselves from, or to try to change, or kind of as a Band-Aid for, in many ways. And then for people who are, for smart, busy women, that's the population that I tend to work with, there are a number of these that come up a lot. So I can tell you what the hidden hungers are, but I think it's easier to talk about the triggers that trigger these hidden hungers for people.
Yeah.
So if you think about things like stress, right? Being too busy,
Yep.
being exhausted, not getting enough time for yourself, not being kind to yourself, being too hard on yourself.
Yep.
All of these things are easy reasons, and they all combine together, right? And it just becomes very easy to slap on a chocolate chip cookie or something to try to get through the situation or to try to deal with it. Emotions are another thing that can trigger a hidden hunger for, it's called a hidden hunger for emotional effectiveness. But if you think about it, we emotionally eat for lots of reasons. We emotionally eat because we have emotions that we don't know how to deal with, but we also eat emotionally because we've got these other hidden hungers going on. I can know perfectly well how to deal with my anxiety, but if I am tired and stressed and I haven't had a minute to myself, I'm not going to have the bandwidth to do the things that I know are good for me. I'm going to go for the cookie or the cashews or the peanut butter, you know?
Yeah. So you have this really fun quiz on your website. And so when I was doing some of my, the things that I do in the mornings prior to the show, I took your quiz, which is really cool because it helps you kind of think outside. That's the goal of all of this, right? Is think outside of what you know, think outside of your box, and let's start to dig in and understand. And so I thought that was a great quiz where people could really have some awesome aha moments in there.
Oh, thank you. So I created the quiz so that people could easily just go online, answer, I think there's 30 questions, multiple choice, answer some questions and find out, this is my primary hidden hunger. And then I can send you some free resources. Here's simple things that you can do to start to change that. But after I created the quiz, what became really clear, there's this other place where it's very helpful, and that is that I always go back to psychology. And our brain is a fascinating thing. Our brain loves to overcomplicate things. Our brain loves to overwhelm us. Our brain loves to always see the reasons that something won't work or something is impossible.
It's protecting, right? It's that protective mechanism.
Yeah, it's trying to protect us. It thinks it's protecting us, but we can get in our own way so easily with our thoughts and our beliefs. And one thing that happens when people start looking at, okay, maybe before I start messing with the food, maybe I need to look at the reason that I'm overeating. Maybe I need to look at what's going on beneath that so that I can deal with what's really causing my cravings and my hungers. When people start looking at their hidden hungers, one of the things that commonly comes up is overwhelm, because they go together and they build on each other. And so what I was seeing was people saying, well, shoot, I have all of them. Yeah, I'm tired and I'm stressed. I'm overwhelmed, and of course I don't have enough time. And overwhelm is another trigger for overeating, right? And so the quiz is a great way to find out, okay, you can have them all. Lots of people have them all. But here's the place to start. And you don't have to address them all. And that's another myth about changing your relationship with food. You don't always have to do something big and dramatic. You can make small strategic changes and they reverberate. And you're nodding your head. I know you know this, right? They like, you can start to create a positive cycle instead of a negative one really pretty easily.
Yeah. So much of it too is, which you do so well, but is understanding where someone's coming from, why these triggers are there, and what are it's listening and meeting people where they're at, right? Which is so important. Instead of going back to saying this is what you have to do, it's where are you, why are you here, let's dig into that, and then let's create the tools based on who you are, what you need, and where you want to be, right?
Yeah, it's what can you do, not this is what you have to do. You don't have to do anything. You're a grown person, right?
Right.
What can you do, and what you want to do, and what will serve you, what's going to help you get where you want to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good. So what would be some of the first things that you would have people do? Obviously this is a very general question, but to help in breaking the cycle and digging into who they are?
It's an important question. The first one is to realize, or to, if you don't believe it, take on the possibility that there is a cycle that is not based on the fact that you aren't working hard enough. And really play with the belief that, okay, there's a reason this is happening, or there's a reason I'm eating ice cream every night before I go to bed and I feel completely out of control with it. There's a reason. I may not know what it is, but there's a reason. And just playing with that, even if you don't know the answer to that question, starts to activate our curiosity. Yep. We notice, we see the things that we are looking for. And if all you are telling yourself, as many people are all day long, is there's something wrong with me, I'm broken, I should have tried harder, I need to push harder, I need to do it differently on the first of the month, that is what you are going to collect data about, and you're just going to see stuff that confirms that. So there's a reason you're overeating. Let's start with that. And then the very first thing I always teach is how to pause, because we cannot take charge of anything if we are not present. I can't make any kind of change in my life if I'm not present to be aware of what is going on around me. And everybody who's listening, stop and think. When is the last time you took a breath and just asked yourself, what is going on with me right now? What am I feeling? For some people, maybe it was this morning, maybe you have a morning routine where you do that. There are a lot of people, maybe it was yesterday, or you can't remember when the last time it was. There are a lot of busy people out there who are operating in reaction mode, where you feel like you're just chasing along behind your life and your to-do list, right? Trying to keep up and going from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting or whatever it is you're doing. And you don't feel in charge. You don't feel powerful. You're not making decisions. You're dealing with what is coming at you all the time. And again, that's a recipe for overeating and emotional eating. So it's your brain. Everything I'm going to tell you is helpful today. I'm just going to give you a spoiler alert. Your brain is going to tell you it's either silly or it is too simple. It's not enough. It won't make a difference. I can tell you story after story about how that isn't true. So just play with me, everybody who's listening. But start practice pausing. Pick a couple of times a day that feel like they might make sense to do this. And all you have to do is stop and take a deep breath. It is helpful, I think, if you put your hand over your heart, or there's actually research that if you feel your heartbeat, it calms you. It puts you into more of a relaxed state. A really simple little trick that I love. But take a deep breath and just ask yourself, okay, what do I know about what I'm feeling right now? What do I know about what I'm needing right now? What do I know about what I want? Just ask. And again, let me warn you about your brain, because if you've been in reaction mode, or if you are in reaction mode 99% of the time, you very well may have no idea. Like, I don't know. That's okay. That's why the question is, what do I know about? It's not, what am I feeling? What do I know about it? Well, I don't have any idea what I'm feeling, but I know my back hurts, right? Or I'm starting to get a headache, or this question is irritating me. It's okay. What do you know? You just want to start to open a channel of communication around what is going on inside of me, because that is going to give you so much power in changing your eating and your relationship with food.
I love that. There are a couple of things that I want to talk about. One is feelings can play such a big trick on us, and I think we have to be really careful about, you had said this, it's not about what I'm feeling, it's about what I know. And I think that it's so important that there's such a difference there, because feelings and emotions can be super tricky, to say the least. At this conference that I was at, one of the things that I love so much about this is, of course they sell products, but it's not about the products. A lot of it is, let's do these other things, and the products are here to support, right? So one of those things was, it was all about breath work. And we hear about breath work, and it's almost, I want to call it the thing that people talk about. You got to do your breath work, but do we really understand the why and what it means and what it can change about us? And this is something that I have to work on myself. I'll do it and then I won't, and then I'll do it and then I won't. But we did hours on breath work and what it means to us physically and mentally and emotionally, and how it can decrease stress and how it can decrease breathing can increase your immune system, which can fight infection. It can increase cognitive abilities. It does so much for us, and it's the most basic, foundational, inexpensive thing. I mean, it's free.
It's free.
Yeah. You just breathe, but you got to know how to breathe and when to breathe well. And here's what I do. I breathe with my chest, and I know this. So if you breathe and your shoulders go up, which mine do, you're breathing with your chest and you're not breathing with your lungs and your belly and your diaphragm. So that puts us in that place that is that reactive place, or that sympathetic nervous system, that's that constant fight or flight, go, stress reactive state, instead of breathing deeply. Now I feel the need to breathe deeply and being calm. And that will bring you to that non-reactive state, right? The parasympathetic. And so there are, just like you said, it seems simple. It's not. Breathing actually is really not simple. It's got to be a practice, but it's one of the best things that we can do to calm the nervous system, to sit in that place while you're breathing and ask the questions, to have more capacity to be able to answer them, I think,
Changing overeating, I really believe, means shifting models entirely. It really is shifting out of diet mentality and deprivation mode, and all the other pieces that go with that. And there's a lot of rewiring that happens, and part of it is rewiring habits. Part of it is rewiring how you respond to feelings. Part of it is, and you said your feelings are tricky. Well, guess what? I just recorded a podcast episode. I don't think it's out yet. I'm pretty sure it's not out yet. It's hard when you record it, but then you don't know where it is in the pipeline. Anyway, but I just recorded a podcast episode about there's a step after focusing on your feelings, which is, what am I telling myself, or what am I believing right now that is causing me to have these feelings, right? And that's not even talking about the physiological stuff that can cause feelings in our body. But we have thoughts and we have beliefs about what food does for us. Oh, this will make me feel great. This is the highlight of my day, right? Which it totally disregards the fact that you're up with acid reflux half the night after you do it. Or also thoughts and beliefs about ourselves. I can't do this. This will be hard. I'm going to have to give up all the things I love if I want to make these changes, or if I want to lose the weight. There's so much that goes on that has nothing to do with a food plan. And if you ignore all these different pieces, you could have the best food plan in the world. You could be working with the best nutritionist in the world, and you will turn it into a misery in creating process. Because you're not dealing with the reason that all this stuff is calling to you, and the reason that you want to binge, and the reason that you have the cravings, and the reason that no amount of chocolate seems like enough.
Yeah. Such a great way of putting it. One of my favorite things about what I do and about doing this show is having a broad reach of people who are so good at what they do that's outside of what I do, which is you deal with food. We do some similar things, but you are so much over in the mental and the emotional, and giving people tools to deal with those. It's so beneficial for people to have their team, to understand the foundation, to ask questions, and to have your team of people who are there who can help to support you, whether it's practitioners or friends or family or your church, or but people who you trust. We get so much bad information from people, yes, but from the internet and from all these places. people who clients will come in and they're like, well, I read this and I read this and I read this, and I'm trying to research, and which is great. I want people to be empowered and involved and want to know. But man, it can be confusing. It can be so hard.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's so much information, and even the best information. You can get great information, but I think another thing that diet culture has done is it's disconnected ourselves from ourself and our trust and our own wisdom. Right? You get here, do this. This is the rule. This is the protocol. You should try this method. And you can take the best advice in the world, but if you don't know how to run it through your own filter around, will this work for me? What do I know about myself? What are the questions I need to ask given how I approach life and and not because there's anything wrong with you, because you're wonderfully you. That is how you come up with something that works. You take great information, you weed out the stuff that doesn't fit you at all, even if it is great information, and then you learn over time how to customize it so that it becomes you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I love that. So speaking of diet culture, that was something that I wanted to chat a little bit about. What do you see when people are coming to you, you have your clients, what else are you seeing about this horrible diet culture and all the fads that people just constantly are trying to try and abide by and do, and it works for some and not for others? What are you seeing?
I see complete overwhelm.
Yeah.
And what I hear, it might surprise people, because what I hear most commonly when I ask somebody, okay, we're going to work together, let's assume you get everything you want from our work together, what will be different for you 6 months from now? And what I hear most commonly is, sometimes there's weight involved, but almost always people will say, I would like to lose weight, or I don't care about my weight, or whatever, but the thing I'm really over is how much space this is taking up in my life and in my brain and in my time and in my energy. I am so sick of all the life that this is taking from me. I'm tired of thinking about it. I have way too much information in my head. I just want it done. And it's that overwhelm.
Yeah. It's
information overload. And if you're a high achiever, you're used to solving problems. You're used to collecting all the information and all the data, and then you go figure it out. And it is so frustrating when you have access to more answers than you could ever possibly even experiment with, and you can't get your footing. You can't find a way to be effective.
Well, and it's so important, I think, I know, for people to understand that they are not everybody else. And that's the hard part too, is, well, this worked for this person, why isn't it working for me? Or this is what I was told was the best thing to do and it's not working for me. Why is it not working for me? And there are so many differences genetically in our history, histories of trauma, our relationships, the lives that we lead. We may be in a similar community, even in the same home. We may have a twin in the same home. My twin, I'm not a twin, but my twin, if I were, is completely different than I am. And we have to take that. It makes things harder because we have to kind of, dig in and figure it out. But understanding that we can't do the same thing that everybody else does. Our needs are very different than everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And instead of shopping from one expert to another, we really have to start with listening to ourselves.
Yes.
So I have a 6-month program where I help women create freedom from overeating. And it's really interesting because when people join a program like this, we are conditioned to expect, okay, where's the food plan? I've signed up, I'm ready to suffer. I'm ready, I've cleaned out my pantry, let's start. And people are always surprised. Well, they're not surprised by the time they join because I've already told them, but we spend the first part of the program, the first module is all about taking your power back, and it is finding your sense of power again, coming from a place where not what do I need to do and what do I have to do and how do I have to eat, but here's what I want to do, here's what I want to try. Detoxing all the garbage and just all the extra information in your head. How do you distill it down to what you want to listen to? And I think the other piece that is really important that gets people really tangled up with eating is how over time and how having cycles where you haven't been successful, you lose your confidence in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then part of what happens is the whole diet industry gets you to make these, they do these big programs, do these dramatic things, do these cleanses. And so most people have a history of making a bunch of promises to themselves that they can't keep.
Mm-hmm.
And then blaming themselves.
Yeah.
And so that really has to come first. Getting your confidence back, learning how to make promises to yourself that you can keep so you believe and trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And getting in that place of power so you're just not in reaction mode.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to be in charge of this thing. Mm-hmm. It is so important.
It is. It's important to know how to be empowered, to feel empowered. One of the things that you said when you were talking about these, the diet industry and what's out there, there are a couple of things that make me crazy. One of those things is the pre-packaged and processed food that is sent to our door that doesn't have to be refrigerated. And my mom, for many, many years, would do that. And it is, I don't know, to me, it is intentionally hurting people. How can you not know that these chemicals that are being put in this food that you're feeding people every single day are not unhealthy? And it makes me nuts because people buy into these pre-prepared, packaged, sized foods. This is what I can eat. This is what I should eat. This is all I should eat. And it's not feeding us. On top of that, it's creating inflammation. It's putting chemicals into our body that are going to create more of an issue. And then what happens when you're not on it anymore? You gain the weight back.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes, you're spending all of this money. And there's another company that is doing this with the supplements and the food. And I have people asking me about it all the time. I'm just going to say it. It's this Optavia, I think is what it's called. I look at the ingredients and I'm like, no. Let's learn how to eat. Let's learn what food is and what feeds our body.
And let's look at the message here, because the message is you can't trust yourself with food.
Yes.
You can't be trusted with food.
Yes.
So we're going to package it up for you,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to tell you what your body needs, and we're going to tell you when you should be full, and we're going to tell you when you're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
This disconnects you from everything you need to have
mm-hmm.
and grow and be connected with to actually have a good relationship with food. And to your point about, okay, so then what happens when you're done? Mm-hmm. It's amazing to me when I ask that question sometimes to somebody who's really indoctrinated in this, mm-hmm. because there's this look of realization, or else this blank look because they don't really believe they ever will be done. Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe the relationship with food that you end up with, let's say when you have this magical goal, whatever that is, mm-hmm. you get to your goal, the relationship with food, and by that I mean the way you relate to food, how you use food, how you think about food, when you feed yourself food and what you feed yourself, all of that stuff, the relationship that you end up with is going to be the relationship you had all along the path to getting to that goal. Mm-hmm. It is not. And there's so many people, again, if you pay attention to your thoughts and your beliefs, it will amaze you. There are so many people walking around with the belief that I can make myself miserable and I can gut it out for however long it takes till I get to my goal. And then I am going to wake up and I'm going to be peaceful and I'm going to know how to eat and the food won't call to me from the kitchen anymore and there'll be unicorns leaping around in the background and I'll never have stress again, so I'll never stress eat. And no. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is what creates and perpetuates a nasty, nasty cycle. And, going back to the biochemistry of it, when we do this, we lose the weight, we gain the weight, we lose the weight, we gain the weight, we lose the weight, we gain the weight. It creates mm-hmm. such metabolic impact, negative impact, right? I mean, I see this so often, and what we're doing, simply enough, is we lose muscle, we gain fat. We lose muscle, we gain fat. We lose muscle, we gain fat. And it is so hard on the body just to continue to do this up and down and up and down, instead of going back to what you're saying and learning, what does my body need? What does my mind and my emotional health need? And let's understand me and dig into that piece of it instead of all of the up and downs and just making yourself crazy.
Well, and all of these tools help with all those different pieces. So I often get people who say, I have a thyroid issue. Is it okay to do your program? Or I'm insulin resistant. Can I do your program? Or I'm allergic to whatever, or I'm gluten intolerant. Can I do your program? Yes, because what I'm teaching you isn't, here's what you need to eat. I'm teaching you how to figure out what you need to eat and how to listen to yourself. And I've had so many women go through the program who, as a part of it, as a part of getting curious, as a part of paying attention to their hidden hungers and the reasons they eat, start to pinpoint, I think there's something physical going on, or my doctor says this, but you know what, I think I'd really like to ask for this kind of test, or by taking their power back and by listening. You're the only one who's lived inside your body your whole entire life. You know a lot more than anybody else about what's going on in there. And so these tools are helpful in so many ways.
Yeah, agreed. Curious what are tips, or how do you help people who are in their home environment, whether it's just a spouse, if it's kids, and they're not on board with you wanting to make the changes that you need to make?
That is a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a really tough one.
I know.
Right? Yeah. And that is a place where you have to be honest with yourself that it is hard. One of the hidden hungers is a hunger for self-compassion. And that is the hidden hunger that is the most misunderstood. It tends to show up if you're doing a lot of mindless eating. Eating on autopilot, if you are eating to numb, if you are eating because you just don't want to think about things, that is often a signal of a hidden hunger for compassion. When you are in a hard situation, your brain is going to be like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? That's what brains do, right? Take action. But the very first step in a hard situation is compassion. And compassion in those situations often looks like, this is hard. I don't know how to do this. This is unfair, what they said to me, right? That was disrespectful. Not in terms of planning, this is what I'm going to say to them, but getting clear in yourself. This is a problem for me, and this is making things difficult for me. And again, your brain is going to say, but Melissa, what does that really do? It starts a different process. And I think the other piece of that is somewhere you started at the beginning talking about the importance of support. And so many women, I won't say most, but so many women who struggle with overeating have a voice inside their head that say, it's my fault. I should have fixed this by now. I shouldn't need help with this, or I can't talk about this. And I will tell you, when people come into my program, there's a group coaching part of it. Sometimes people are very wary of getting on Zoom for the first time. And then there is this, you can see, you talked about your shoulders, right? You can see your shoulders go down, and the shoulders go down. And I've had so many people say, I didn't know, I've never heard anybody else talk about this before. Or I didn't know, wow, you guys are all amazing. And you all have similar issues. You're not losers, which is what your brain has been telling you, right? You're a loser. So get support. You deserve support, and you're going to need help bolstering that voice in your head that says, I deserve for things to be different. Yeah.
Are you finding that social media is having a huge impact on people's thoughts and beliefs and all of these things?
I just got an email this morning from somebody. I just finished up a free series that I did for people, and she had participated in it, and she emailed to thank us for putting it on, and she said, I just can't get away from it. Everywhere I look, there are influencers talking about this, there are messages about this, there are these before and after pictures. It's in your face 24/7. I mean, I remember when I was in graduate school a million years ago, and the research was all about how magazines, the power that magazines had on women's self-esteem and confidence. And if you picked up a magazine for 10 minutes a day, look at the hours that we're spending scrolling through our phone, and think about what the influence, is. It's huge.
It is huge. It is huge. Yeah. I was really glad to be off of social media for well, it was almost 3 weeks with the conference and with,
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff. And it's just, it's so much in so many ways. It's so much, and it's hard. I think it's hard on our brains. It's hard on our emotions, let alone the the impact with the EMFs that are all around us. It's just all of these things are so much, and we've got to, I don't know, take a break from.
Well,
Go ahead.
also the dopamine cycle
Yeah.
that it puts us in
Yeah.
is the exact opposite of what I talked about with pausing.
Yep.
It puts us in a reactive cycle, right? I have free time. I must pick up my phone. I must
Yep.
check my email. I must look on Instagram. It is the reactive cycle.
Yeah.
It is the opposite of taking a deep breath, getting in touch with what's inside of you and saying what's going on in here is the
Yeah.
absolute opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. So give us a little, like, some of your favorite stories with clients you've worked with.
I will tell you a story that's more of a theme.
Okay.
I just finished this workshop series that I do, and we were talking to a number of people who've been in the program. And the theme that came up, one of the things that, and it's very hard, it sounds very unbelievable if you're not doing this kind of work, but what people were talking about over and over again was results that came up that surprised them. And here's what I mean by that. So, and I will give you an example. I'll give you an example of somebody who was in the program a while ago, and she joined the program because she was binging every evening. And that is what she wanted. That is, if she had filled out a form on the very first day, she would have said, I want to stop binging in the evening. And she got into the program when we started doing this work on taking her power back and getting her confidence back. And that led her, what she thought was kind of down a rabbit hole of how hard she was on herself and how she didn't have any time for herself. And she was focusing on that, and it felt really good, and she was enjoying it. But in the back of her mind, she's thinking, but when are we going to talk about the food? Because that's why I'm here. I want to talk about the food. And one day we were in the group, and actually I had her send me an email about what her wins were so far in the program, what she had accomplished. And it was this long list, and it's this lovely list of I'm kinder to myself, I feel more comfortable, I'm more confident, all these things. 3/4 of the way down the page, she says, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize till I started writing this, I don't binge anymore. Like, I've only binged twice since I joined the program. It's been 4 months. I used to binge every day. I didn't even realize. That's when you start to pay attention to the reasons.
Yes.
The food loses its power. The cravings get deflated. And so I hear that over and over and over again. Another woman was saying, I came into the group to focus on not making everything into a deprivation plan, not making everything into a diet, not being miserable with food. And then she realized, I've lost 10 pounds. I mean, it sounds unbelievable if you live in diet mentality. How can you accidentally lose 10 pounds? It happens because your diet culture has you focusing on food and thinking about food and counting and tracking food. And guess what? That's your focus, right? Or not eating. If I tell you not to think about pink bunny rabbits, you're thinking about pink bunny rabbits. If you're thinking about not eating, you're thinking about eating. But when you're thinking about really nourishing yourself, feeding your hidden hungers, giving yourself what you really need, not only does your life get better, but the power that this other stuff has in your life gets completely transformed. And that is the funnest part of what I do.
I love that so much. This is really amazing phenomenon, and I don't know if it's the brain. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's at least in large part, but it's people who struggle with pain, people who struggle with whatever, and they start to get things start to get better. They start to feel better. The pain starts to go away. If you don't ask them, they don't realize that the pain's gone because the pain's gone. So they're not thinking about it. Right. And so doing like you said, doing these regular check-ins
so important.
So they can see, holy smokes, the reason I was here was because I had this pain or this heartburn or, these binge eating moments, and I don't have those anymore. I would see that with my own mom.
Your brain is always going to tell you what you didn't do right.
Yeah.
I've had so many people start a coaching session with, it really wasn't a very good week. I didn't make any progress. And then by the end of it, I'm like, did you just hear all the amazing things that you just described? And by the way, my pants are loose and I feel strong and I've been sleeping so well. And it is amazing. Your brain is a tricky little mechanism. It's so important to pay attention to your thoughts and your beliefs. And that is another place where coaching is really helpful because we just don't see it. It's a blind spot.
It's hard to see. Yeah, that's so true about coaching, because it's hard to see outside of this. I know for myself, I have a hard time seeing outside of my little box, and I need somebody from the outside to say, okay, what about this? What about this? And then it opens up a whole new box. But I didn't know that was there, but it was right in front of me the whole time. I mean, I think it's so important to have people who can see what you can't see.
And so often the feedback is, okay, that sounds so simple when you say it. How come? You mean? And that's another piece of feedback that happens when you start applying this. What I hear over and over again from people is, I thought I was going to have to do these big, huge, dramatic things, but what I learned in the program is it's these simple things.
Yeah.
It's teeny tiny simple things that make this huge difference, which, by the way, makes it so much easier than having to do a list of 12 really big, hard, dramatic things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and makes you more likely to stick to it and want to do it and create changes in habits. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your book.
Oh, the Emotional Eating Rescue Plan for Smart, Busy Women. Yeah. I wrote that a while ago.
Okay.
It stands the test of time, but it's basically a guided step-by-step program for how to do a lot of the things we've been talking about, how to pause, how to get clear on what you're feeling, what to do about the reasons that you're overeating.
Awesome. Very cool. And you also have a podcast. So you talked about that a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about your podcast. What's it about?
So Too Much on Her Plate is about everything we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
It really is about how you get stuck in cycles with overwhelm and overload and overeating, and how it's a completely non-diet approach to how to break free. And I put out episodes just about once a week, 3 times. We just went to 3 times a month. And just sharing what I know, what's coming up in the groups that I'm leading about. I like to try to take your brain in a direction that's different from how you usually approach something.
Yeah.
Like, so let's look at it from this perspective, or what if you think about it this way?
Yeah.
Because we have so much conditioning that is leading us to look at the wrong things, I believe.
Yeah, agreed. So you do group coaching as well as one private coaching. So talk about each of those.
Well, most of my time is spent in my group program, which is called Your Missing Piece, PEACE. And it is a 6-month, I'm a firm believer. I work with people who are so sick of making short-term changes that didn't stick. I am a firm believer in, if we're going to work together, we are going to cement this stuff in and make it yours. Agreed. So it's your relationship with food, not this program that you're trying to do. So Your Missing Piece is a 6-month program where it combines all sorts of training and resources with coaching with me 3 times a month. We get on Zoom and we coach through all these situations and blind spots and stuck spots and perfectionism and self-sabotage and all of these things. Yeah. And it's really based around 4 different pillars, and I think we probably covered them all today. The first one is embracing your power, taking your power back. And I talked about why that is so important, and I'm passionate about that. And I'm passionate about, I think sometimes people don't realize how powerless they're feeling until they start to get a glimmer of who they really are and how strong and amazing they are. And then the second pillar is about how to ditch diets, but also the question I get a lot, okay, I know that diets don't work, but how am I supposed to eat? What do I do if I'm not on a diet? How do I trust myself with food? How do I know how much is too much? What kinds of food should I eat? You're going to learn how to answer that for yourself. Yeah. There is no one way of eating that works for anybody. That is the one thing I know after doing this work for 30 years. So answering the food questions for yourself and learning how to play with food in a way that works for you. The third piece of the program is being the CEO of your time and energy. You cannot take care of your hidden hungers if you are at the mercy of the rest of the world. Yeah. So taking your power back from your time and your energy. And then the fourth foundation of the program is forever, right? Forever freedom. Yeah. How do we do this in a way that lasts? How do I help you build a relationship with food that you like? Not like, how do I get you to your goal? Right. How do we build a relationship with food that you're having fun with and that you like and that is taking you to your goal? So there's not some wall you hit when you get there where you have to figure things out all over again.
I love that. And that's what I really try to talk to my clients about is, yes, we're going to work on these things, but my goal is to give you the tools that will last you the rest of your life. And I think it's important to really take that in, because this, you have immediate goals, whether that's, 3 months or 6 months or a year down the road, but I want you to know how to do these things for your body as your body changes. Body's dynamic, so you need to learn how to listen to your body, learn what you can do to help it and to support it for the entirety of your life, and at the same time creating a more optimal life, because we don't have that long that we're here. We want to enjoy as much as we can while we're here and be able to do the things that we were put here to do.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, we're out of time. It's amazing how quickly it always goes. But I want to make sure that people know where to find you and how to reach out to you if they want to chat with you.
The easiest way to find me is through my website, which is toommuchonherplate.com, toommuchonherplate.com. That's where you can take the quiz. There's a roadmap to freedom from overeating that you can download there. And I would love it if you check out the podcast. If this resonates with you, it's the Too Much on Her Plate podcast. It's wherever you're listening to this, wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you can find that there. Not on the radio, but on the podcast channels. And yet. We're not on the radio yet.
Right.
And I'd love to know if you do, connect, let me know you heard me here. It's always fun to know how people found me.
Yeah. Well, everybody be sure that you check her out. Tell your friends and family about her who are struggling with these kinds of things, because this is, the mental and the emotional piece really can be a game changer. And so I'm grateful for you joining me. I'm grateful for all that you're doing. And I hope that you'll come back.
I would love to come back. I've had so much fun today. Thank you.
Good. All right, so this is going to wrap up another show. This, of course, is Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. Probably next week will be where you find all of your favorite podcasts, so check it out there. And then, of course, you can find me at tastelifenutrition.com on all the social media, the websites, all of the places. And then you can check out Soulful Conception, which is a big part of what I'm doing to help people, to empower people, to help them know the power that they have when they're trying to create their family. So prior to pregnancy, let's get the body ready, because we have the ability to impact generations, mentally,